So I'll tell you what, let's get going. We got some people starting to show up here, and
Yeah.
I'll pay cash for a list.
you know, Matt, I wanted to we wanted to kind of talk a little bit, reflect a little bit, discuss what's going on with you right now after years of participating in many different ways in this movement, and of course, Cannabis Counsel and Executive Director of Michigan NORML for the last few years. And there was a little video created, and we have some friends coming on, and I just want to start off by showing this video real quick. But let's bring on one of our first guests today. How about the guy who started NORML itself?
Right.
Thank you very much for joining us, Keith Stroup.
My pleasure. I was shocked to hear that Matt was retiring. You're too damn young, Matt.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm curious to hear what you plan to do. I assume now that you got it legal up there, you plan to just lie out and get stoned all day every day.
Well, how would that be different from,
pretty much. There's still more work to be done, as you know. We still have no employment protection, and there's always issues with driving, and we still have the federal thing going on, and that needs to get cracked, and the international law, which we all set up against us in the first place.
Well, by the way, also, if you've taken time to look at the details of that recent New York law, gee, many Christmas, that includes some great stuff. If you're a consumer, you're allowed to smoke on the street anywhere that tobacco smoking is allowed. Marijuana smoking will now be legal on the street.
Awesome.
They are going to license social lounges, smokeasies, which obviously we need that. I think the only other jurisdiction to do that so far may be Denver, I think has, but they haven't opened any smokeasies yet. They have home delivery. They have employment protection. We're not there yet, but we're getting close on some of these laws to treating marijuana smokers fairly in all aspects of their lives. And that's obviously our ultimate goal. I'm sure you've still got some work to do up there, but you've sure made a lot of progress.
Right now, we do have the lounges coming up here too in Michigan, and we had delivery, and we haven't started with the lounges, but they're pending. They're just about ready to go.
And is that being done by regulation?
Yeah, it's worked into the legalization law. It came with the 2018 rule, but regulations were slow in coming. That's why we don't have one open yet. But probably by the end of 21, there'll be a half a dozen open, I think.
Oh, great.
Hey, let's think.
That we have to stay home to smoke just does not appeal to me.
Right on. I like it. Well, I like the outdoor thing, and I also like the fact that so much of the revenue generation is going to go to the social equity programs. It's going to get funded heavily. It's going to have some teeth that way. And that was great for New York also.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this compiled video about Matt, and then get back on the conversation here. Rick, you ready?
Yeah, I am.
It's better we get to watch it longer now together.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was awesome.
That was a short film. That was awesome.
Jared
So-
Jeffries
Yeah,
from
it was like a mini series.
Jared
Jared-
Jeffries, I believe, inspired by partner in Cannabis Counsel, Tom Lavigne.
yeah.
And I asked him to participate, so very cool.
That was nice.
Matt, you're on mute, sir, which, kind of fitting.
Brought a tear to my eye.
I was saying it made me laugh and cry and everything.
Yeah,
I was laughing
right.
out loud.
You know what? I watch that video and I see dead people, and it said Michigan Missy, and I saw Marvin in there, and
Steve Sharp.
Steve Sharp.
was in there. True, yeah. You know what? That's one of the casualties of being an advocate in medical marijuana issues is that you, by its very nature, befriend ill people, and sometimes they get taken. But I wouldn't do it any other way. I wouldn't be doing anything else, and I'm sure Matt's the same.
Joined by the Reverend Steve Thompson, former executive director of the Michigan chapter.
Hey, Rev Steve. What's up?
Hi, everybody. How are you? Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Basically, good to see you down there in the bottom, Keith, and then you got Matt on top of you. So, Brother Matt,
Hey, it's
how you
nice,
doing,
it's
buddy?
nice to capture all this legendary scene here on one screen.
Well, in some ways,
Well,
much of the legalization stuff started in your state. I mean, I remember the Free John Sinclair rally in Michigan, and then the early hash bash hobbies, not just the early ones, you're still having them. So when I think about the earliest days of NORML, I think about being up in Michigan.
And John was a NORML rep back in the early 70s when NORML was real big in the legislature, and they were pretty active back then.
Keith, were you at the concert at
Yes.
John? You were at the concert at
I
Chrysler Arena in Ann
wasn't
Arbor?
here. I jumped in my Volkswagen camper. I think it was only a few months after I founded NORML. I just had read about what was happening, and something told me, you ought to be there. This seems important. So I drove up, and I guess it's Chrysler Stadium or wherever it was held.
Chrysler
Arena. I remember sitting there, and I brought a couple of joints, thinking, maybe you had to be careful. People had pounds of marijuana out, openly rolling joints and passing them. It was the nearest thing I'd ever seen to legalization ahead of time.
That's great. The cannabis law section is a petition to get a legal milestone, a historic marker, a bar marker put up for the arc of legalization, the 50 years basically from that concert to, and I know there was stuff before it, but from then to our passing the legalization in 2018. We just thought, and it's kind of tweaking them. Some of the higher ups in the bar, not exactly moving it right along. I would say.
Well, let me observe though that Matt's a former director of the cannabis law section of the State Bar Association here in Michigan, and that has 800 attorneys as members now, Matt?
Right.
It's got to be the largest section of its kind in the United States.
But the really great ones are members of the NORML legal committee.
There you go.
Well, a lot of the same people.
And
Fantastic.
Keith, I might see you in Key West in December.
Oh,
So,
great. Yeah, do come down.
I booked a room, so
It'll be the first one that I'm confident we are going to be able to hold in person. You know, we've had to reschedule the last three, and I think there's kind of pin up demand. We need to get together with our friends and colleagues and get stoned.
absolutely.
It's usually a good idea.
I'm going to
That's what you want your lawyer to say. Right. Okay.
So what is
Matt,
the
I'm supposed to pass on to you, buddy. Matthew Abel. I'm supposed to pass on to you a big hug from Melody Carr. She was supposed to be here with me this evening, and she came down ill, so she went home. So she's not going to be able to be with me, but she said to tell you, consider yourself a big hug by her, and congratulations on your retirement.
I'm sorry that we missed Mel. You know, and I went to Ann Arbor for Hash Bash, and I really missed her standing on the brick wall. I went up there for a moment myself. You can let her know, just to cover that spot.
Last couple of years, she's carried a sign reminding everybody about Rainbow Farm, and she may be one of the only people that carries Tom and Raleigh's name into the Hash Bash nowadays, and that's pretty special.
And incidentally, let me use this opportunity to announce that next week's show we are going to dedicate it to discussing the story of Rainbow Farm. And many of the same people who are on here today will be back for that discussion, plus many others.
What year? What year?
Circle, you know, they're having an event there at Rainbow Farm.
Yep.
Time and what?
This weekend. Yep.
This weekend they have this year. Yeah.
It was 2001.
Was it? Yeah.
It was the week before 9/11.
20 years.
Oh, don't say that.
Or thereabouts.
20 years, Rick.
I know.
Oh, yeah. And,
You're lucky, Rick. You're lucky.
No, I have the magic shampoo. I'm not lucky at all. Magic shampoo. So yes. I look much better. Yes. No, but Matt, it's been a pleasure serving on the board of Michigan NORML with you over these years. You've been a board member, executive director for 10 years. I've been on board for, I don't know, like 5. Adam, I think, for probably as long as I. And we're joined right now by Tom Lavigne, a partner in Cannabis Counsel. Matt's dual personality right there at the law firm. But
Well, there's 5 of us, but, you know, Tom's
there's only 2
Tom's
of
got
you.
his own personality.
35 attorneys. There's only 2 of you guys.
I can't be the pretty face at this point.
Tom's got that
that
covered.
is true.
Hey, it's
Pretty
great
face
to
on
see everybody.
I'm the rowing guy. But yeah, it's been
a
wonderful.
fantastic experience working with Matt. You know, he and I ran for office in the Green Party. He's a true activist, and you know he's involved in so many different organizations. I came over and joined Matt, and he introduced me to the whole community of lawyers. It was really great. Keith, you know, going out to the NORML legal conference events out in Aspen and Key West were just fantastic times, and it's such a cohesive community of lawyers that support each other, and Matt really emulates that. He's respected, you know, by these lawyers all over the country. He's been at it so long, and it's been a great experience working with you, man. Got to tell you.
Well, I will say this: Cannabis Counsel, headed by both of you, has been that bastion of cannabis advocacy, the one locus that everything is focused around for many, many years now. And being in Detroit is a disadvantage in that respect because there's so much Michigan that's far away from it, but yet Cannabis Counsel has its own draw. It was only fitting that we had the party at Cannabis Counsel on the eve of election night, November 6, 2018, when we took home the gold. Yes. It was a legendary experience, and thanks again to Matt and Tom for hosting and for everything you've done.
We look forward to those annual meetings happening again. You know, those annual celebrations will definitely return this year.
Yeah.
Can I just tell a quick little story about Matt and Tom?
Stretch it, make it big, make it a big story.
When I had decided that it was time for me to step down and retire, because I thought it would be much better to put a clean cut looking guy in a suit tie, in front of the media, as we progressed, gained recreational here in the state. So the year that I decided to retire was 2011, and I started early that year praying about it. Most of you know me. My Christianity is real to me, so I wanted to do what God wanted me to do, and it was God that told me it was time for me to step back and make room for fresh blood with new ideas and better ideas. But it was really comical because I prayed hard about that all up through the winter, up to the summer. And one afternoon, I get a surprise visit from Tom, Lavigne, and Matt Abel. It just made my day. They were on their way back from the UP, if I remember right. And we sat in the living room at the house in town and sat down and talked. And one thing led to another. And Matt told me that he was ready to take over as executive director of Michigan NORML. And I looked at the both of them, and I looked up and I said, "Thank you, God, Matt. You may not know it, but you are the answer to my prayer that I've been praying for almost a year." So I'll never forget that visit. The other quick little visit I'll never forget is one time Matt was up here, evidently representing somebody, I think, at Benzie County Court, and he forgot to bring a tie with him. So he comes to the Reverend looking for a tie, a long tie. I had to search and search and search in my old business clothes when I was in the food business, and I actually found a tie. And if I remember right, it was blue or something. And I think I told Matt to keep it. But yeah, I saved the day for him at court. But I wanted to share that.
I told you I might need it next time.
It's like my cousin Vinny moment,
What a great story. Matt, when did you start your cannabis advocacy? How early?
Well, let's see.
13.
I really just, pretty much. I actually read an ad in Playboy. Playboy had given NORML full-page ad, right, Keith? And
we used to get 2 full-page ads every year in Playboy during the 70s. Yep.
And I saw one of those. I think it was 71, and sent in. I think it was $15. Maybe it was $5, but I got one of those square stickers. I love that. I still have
Liberate marijuana.
Yeah,
it said liberate marijuana. It looks like something out of the 60s when I look at it now. I laugh at it.
It's
Man, vintage. Yeah.
And, I kept it and I saved it. And I can't say I was a member constantly on. I was kind of I was way in the closet, but politically, I always say I only got my own place because I wanted to smoke in my office.
Me too.
The way that worked, So
That's right.
But I was a criminal defense lawyer when I concentrated on cannabis advocacy and cannabis criminal defense in the mid 90s. And my son Julian, I took time off when he was born, and after he was born, a couple of years old, I went back to work and started working with Buck Davis and Cindy Heenan, who do police misconduct work. They're friends of mine, and they introduced me to the National Lawyers Guild and the Drug Policy Project and others. And I didn't realize there was an active NORML legal committee, so shame on me, Keith, because I would have joined years earlier as a lawyer, but I had no idea. And when I finally stumbled across it, I was like, wow, I was in Disneyland, It was,
that was really largely started by John Zwirling and Marvin Miller and Bill Rittenberg, a number of those guys, at a time when I was actually not working at NORML. And I was thrilled when I came back to NORML in '94 to see how well organized the legal committee was. And of course, it's played a major role in the organization since. But it was actually started by your friends that I think you knew from NACDL already.
Yeah.
Right. those guys are giants, and I love it. And it's great, highly educational, and a lot of fun. That's kind of the way I like to work anyway. And it's perfect to be better. And so, you know, my advocacy and criminal defense work just led into fighting only marijuana cases. Other lawyers thought I was crazy. I had a card with the indica leaf and the sativa leaf on it because Michigan defines cannabis as sativa L. And so I'm arguing the prosecutor has to prove it's not indica, you know, and not
Every
my
case.
problem. And I never really won the argument, but I got a lot of good deals from some prosecutors who were frustrated sooner or later, and most of those work out in pleas. It's not my choice. And it was one of the few things I had sometimes. And then when the medical marijuana law passed, I had been a petitioner, but I was not active in drafting it or doing that. But when the medical marijuana law passed, all the other lawyers who was saying I was crazy to develop a practice in just marijuana criminal defense were calling me for advice about what the new law meant, you know. And so from there, my phone was ringing off the hook. It was, yeah. So it was.
Well, finish the story. 2008, your phone's ringing off the hook. Keep going.
Well, it's different now. The phones aren't ringing off the hook because people aren't getting busted, and there are hundreds of lawyers doing cannabis criminal defense work as well. Back when a lot of caregivers were getting busted and all that, there still was a lot of criminal defense work. But I think that's tamped down quite a bit. And now there are a lot of business lawyers, and, you know, it's going to mergers and acquisitions and securities and Bitcoin transfers and what the hell, you know? My hair fell out.
There you go.
That's what happened. Unfortunately, there's another push to recriminalize driving, you know, while doing what you're doing right now. And there'll be another need for attorneys to defend people in cannabis and driving situations. You've been active in trying to get legislation started to stop things like that. Cannabis Counsel's been the home to many fundraisers for worthy politicians who had good ideas about proper ways to address cannabis in Lansing, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think testing bodily fluids is not a good indicator of impairment. We now have impairment tests that are electronic tests, games that people can play for all practical purposes. And so if we really want to test people for impairment, we can. We just refuse to open our eyes to or move away from, we're going to stick a needle in your arm and take blood, you know, because that isn't going to tell you shit in the first place. I mean, yeah, there's THC in my blood. You know, I wake up with THC in my blood, you know. So
that's the quote. I wake up with THC in my blood. Yes,
Right.
That's it.
Hey, Tom, you mentioned that you were on a little bit of a schedule and that's coming up. Do you want to like get a little bit more in here before you have to take off?
Sure, yeah. When I walked in the door at Cannabis Counsel, right when another lawyer was walking out, right, Matt?
That's right. The guy quit.
He was a little intimidated. He wouldn't even search cannabis on his search engine. He was too timid. I walked in the same day, and my wife and I were attending Cannabis College to grow marijuana, and Matt was the legal part of the seminar. There was half the class was about growing, and then each class had a little segment on one of them had at law where that Matt would handle, and then the next day it would be something related to, like business or something like that. And so I kind of reconnected with Matt there after having been involved with the Green Party with them and some of the peace activism, and Matt's quite, eclectic. He's an activist and in many different levels, and he was on the ACLU board for a number of years, and National Lawyers Guild, and so in many circles he's known as a social justice activist, and I'm proud to have him as my partner.
Thanks, Matt.
Right on.
Thanks. Yeah. Likewise. Tom's a great guy, and he saved me because he had just come from working at a business incubator and was doing just straight business at the time, where I had some business skills, but not nearly what I needed to ramp up at the time. And so he saved me in the practice and helped us be able to transition to, instead of worrying about search warrants, we're worrying about patents.
It's 5 o'clock.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
It's very helpful.
It's 4:20.
Jamie, did you get that file from Jared?
Yeah, we watched it earlier in the show, man, and
Oh,
said
good.
that you inspired Jared to make it, and so it was great.
Wow.
Super nice.
Thank you very much.
Now, can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
Jared.
It's on YouTube.
That's right. It's on YouTube. Well, Cannabis Counsel, though, we launched several different movements from there. The Repeal Today movement was launched from Cannabis Counsel. We had many of the formative meetings for MI Legalized 2016, plus local initiatives in Wayne County and beyond were
Met a
launched.
lot of the major politicians there, the governor,
Today.
general.
Yeah.
Yep.
Governor.
The current governor and the current attorney general. I think it might have been one of their first fundraisers were at our office.
And we're now supporting Senator Coleman Young for city council.
Yes.
Large city council seat, right?
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was over here a couple of weeks ago, just shoring up support. Absolutely. He was up front in the legislature before a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's I think a crucial role. Not only has it been a building, but it's fostered a lot of individual activism, a lot of activists, as well as political careers too. So the action that you've done, from that location has just been revolutionary in the state. I'm sorry, Rev, I kind of got in front of you there.
I was just going to ask Jamie if I should sign up in order to make room for others to come in. I noticed Tim Beck was trying to get in there a couple of times.
That is starting to happen now. We can only have so many on at a time, and that's going to start easing that in. And I know that Tom's got to leave anyway for other commitments, so let's try that. I don't know if you can stay on
And
be here. Let's try that out. But really appreciate it, Rev. And we'll have you on many other times, including for the Rainbow Farm show coming up.
All right,
Well,
guys.
congratulations once again, Matt, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you, especially since you're retired. You can come up and see me sometime. So
Rev Steve,
we'll talk later.
Rev Steve,
Peace and love,
before you leave,
everybody.
Before you leave, Steve, Matt's trying to say something.
before you leave, Reverend Steve, will you join me in encouraging everybody to renew their membership in Michigan NORML? When I transition through this, I want us to have a strong organization that carries on. And I think there are a lot of people out there who do want to join. We just need to reach out and make it available. And we've got a new website out there, and go to minorml.org and join. And let's finish what Keith Stroup started 50 years ago.
Yeah, while I'm
And
still
you'll be
alive to enjoy it.
I've been sharing around, about Michigan NORML, and I've been bending everybody's ear and trying to get them to re-up their membership or get a new membership. And I told them either get on the bus or you're going to get left by us. So, yeah, I'm putting it up real good here in Northern Michigan.
Steve. And thank you for all your years of service running the booth at the Monroe Street Fair and everywhere else, because that's been a huge help for years.
I think I will miss Hash Bash and our monthly get-togethers at Archie Keel's setting up the Michigan NORML booth there. I'll probably miss those two the most out of all the years I've done that. But merchandise is sitting here. It's all safe and sound. And when you get a new merchandise director, we'll make arrangements to make sure this merchandise gets to the right person.
Right on.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Jamie, I should probably do the same thing and see what I may be behind on here in my office. Matt, I really do want to tell you, you've been a model state executive director. I mean, you presented yourself professionally. You knew the issue. You were a talented, committed libertarian activist. I really wish in every state in this country we would have had someone as talented and committed as you for the last 10 years. So thank you for all your work.
That's very gracious. Thank you.
Really
Keith.
nice.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on too, man. And
My
really,
pleasure.
really appreciate it. And
Thanks for joining Jazz Cabbage Cafe.
we'll look to hopefully have you back on for a different kind of a show where we can learn more about what's going on with what you're doing in NORML and some of the history there.
I'd be happy anytime.
Great. Thank you very much.
See if I can figure out how.
Matt, that was super nice. That was super nice what he just said.